Shabbat Shalom, you guys. I hope you are well. We're here for our weekend reading where we go a little bit deeper into the things that we've been working through this week in our progress. And, usually our weekend message is very reflective. And so this weekend's message is pretty prescriptive and straightforward, but I think it gives us food for thought on, strategy and planning and thinking about execution, as we're going forward into through this portal out of eclipse season. The dust is kind of settling from that. Transformation is still underway. Pieces are coming together, but in the meantime, it's like now is the time to really hone in and be really crystal clear on what we're letting go of, what we're starting to move away from, what behaviors we're not going to do anymore, getting really clear on the patterns in the past that have kept us cycling through the same lessons, so that when we start to become triggered and we begin to fall back in that default setting, we can grab ourselves and pause and say, strap her down, tape her mouth shut, don't let her do anything, right? We're pausing, we're observing, and then we're trying to proactively choose to embody the wisdom that we've learned and go forward, presenting more and responding more to life and showing up proactively as our higher self and having affinity with that higher self and less reactive and in effect consciousness, living in our base instinct as our sort of lower egoic self. So, over the weekend, it's very basic. So we have ostentation that showed up from the Radiant Sun Oracle. This is Jupiter in Taurus. And Jupiter is in Taurus, actually, and this card has been coming up quite a bit. And so I can't remember how many months Jupiter's going to be in Taurus, but right now it is expanding our opportunities when it comes to Venus themes, beauty, security, finances, love, relationships, our career and purpose in the world, our interactions with life, in the dynamics that we have with that, right? Our relationship to life and the sense of beauty and fulfillment that we get from that. And so these themes have been highlighted. And so all of these new habits that we're forming and old habits that we're breaking are ultimately serving to expand our abundance, expand our fulfillment, expand our dreams, but it's going to take discipline. So we've got ostentation, which is Jupiter in Taurus. We have criticism, which is Mars in Capricorn. No, sorry, that's Mars in Virgo. And then we've got control, which is Jupiter in Capricorn. So Saturn and Capricorn are coming up twice. Jupiter is coming up, and I thought it was coming up twice, but it didn't. Okay, cool. So here's what I'm seeing. Oh, and also I'm a little discombobulated. The first thing that happened when I woke up this morning was I woke up to a text from my sister that my mom had to go to the emergency room because she tripped and fell. She'd recently had ankle replacement surgery, and she was trying to get around her boot, and she wasn't using her walker at the time that's just there to support her during this surgery or whatever. She doesn't like using it. And then she tripped and she somehow broke her lower shin, within her boot. And so she's been in a lot of pain. So even with her today, and so my thoughts are sort of scattered right now. But she is okay. She's uncomfortable. They're going to operate on her leg in the morning. So y'all send her your prayers. And I know she's very disappointed because she was getting really anxious anyway about recovering from her ankle surgery and was really excited about getting up and about and preparing for holidays. And so that has been heavy on her as well. So Send your good vibes to my mom. Okay, so underneath ostentation, we have Ten of Cups. Underneath criticism, we have Two of Swords. And underneath control, we have King of Pentacles. So I think that this is just a little bit of some direct, like, coaching, like as if Spirit were coach and, you know, he's running our plays, you know, for our performance through the game. And overall, I think we're doing an okay job, but we need to, like, you know, pick it up and give 102% and be practical and grounded. So ostentation, this card is about ultimately the qualities of the combination of Jupiter and Taurus are that this character, like this week, we may be, and even recently, it's like we may be onto something that we know has a lot of value, and generally this combination of personality aspects is good at sensing something with value and then being able to grow that. Now, I know a lot of people that watch this channel have creative aspirations and different things in life than goals that they're working towards, right? And so there's something right now that you sense that there is something of value there and that you are willing to grow it. And so another warning or quality of this card may be to be impulsive when it comes to materialism. And so you may want to make ostentatious choices rather than practical ones, just for the sake of, like, keeping up appearances, keeping up with the Joneses. You know, maybe outward appearances are important to you. Or maybe instead of, like, you're having a hard time, instead of, like, trimming back, you know, and maybe cutting out a lot of spending, it's like you want to maintain the status quo at all costs, even if that means, like, you know, like putting yourself into debt or spending outside of your cash flow for the month. So this card is in combination with the Ten of Cups. This is saying, like, look, you're working on something of value, and the behaviors and the new patterns that you're establishing for yourself can bring you long-term security and fulfillment. But it's going to take, like, the discipline of continuing to show up and not falling prey to your impulse spending or impulsive ostentation. And that can be difficult, and it can be a way that we, you know, self-sabotage. And so one of the warnings in our energetic forecast for the week was that, you know, we're on the verge of a big breakthrough. And right before the big breakthrough, it's like the opponent comes to try to steal, you know, all the blessing juice and all the magic that we're about to get, right? And so, you know, there's been opposition to our goals and our agendas throughout this week. And, you know, part of that may be, hey, you've got some precious, valuable time, energy, resources, and money in your fingertips. Let's see how we can help you squander that instead of focusing it with intent and discipline and wisdom and directing your resources with intention. So be careful not to overspend, or not to be, you know, overly ostentatious with your resources, or try not to fall prey to, like, impulsive behaviors for instant gratification right now. Instead, think of the long-term fulfillment. Think of your long-term satisfaction, right? Dietary things this time of year. How many of us are always, you know, wanting to maintain and reach fitness goals? And if you have health goals, right? It's not like health or fitness is a one and done. They're constant, like in order to maintain, you know, flexibility, strength. Like if you're, you know, someone who does like certain sports or activities like that need flexibility and strength, it's like constant training and conditioning that you have to maintain, right? If you're a runner, right, and you're going, you know, to run marathons and races, you have to keep your body conditioned for that so you don't get an injury, or, you know, so you don't have like long-term side effects. So, this time of year, it's really easy to start eating all the Halloween candy and then go right into casserole season with cheese and canned soup fillers with cracker sprinklings and more cheese and carbs. So just be mindful of not giving into instant gratification and impulsiveness around materialism, and rob your long-term fulfillment. If you're doing a like sober stretch, or trying not to spend, this could be lots of things. This could be impulse buying, impulse eating, impulse substance use, or whatever. So just think about what you're trying to build in the long term, and then try to maintain your alignment with that, with your sights set and your focus set on your long-term goals and fulfillment. And then ultimately, I think that sticking to that, giving yourself a little bit of better structure and discipline is going to actually lead you to have a greater emotional sense of fulfillment too. And the more you feel emotionally fulfilled on the inside, it's like, and the more you show up for yourself in those ways, it's like you're deepening your own self-worth, self-love, self-value, which is going to, again, attract more harmony and ease and, serenity, and, attract people in your life that will build that with you and sustain that with you. Criticism with Two of Swords. So I instantly was thinking, like, don't let perfectionism cause analysis paralysis or procrastination to squander and waste your time or your energy or your resources. When we are making decisions, it's using chemicals in our neurology that dwindle our willpower. So make certain things a non-negotiable for yourself. Like, there's no choice to be made here. I already know that this is what's going to happen, so I don't have to sit here and spin an indecision. If you catch yourself procrastinating, try to be more decisive and just do something. Pull the trigger on it. Take the action. Oh, that needs to get done. Just do it right then. Try to time yourself. Do it quickly, whatever it takes. But stop holding yourself back, being overly perfectionistic, or procrastinating to avoid, right? A lot of times we can try to make ourselves busy in routine, and so it feels like we're being productive, and we're really not being productive. We're not pushing our goals forward. We're just walking on a treadmill rather than getting anywhere. So careful not to do that. There is a lot of energy in this spread so the Mars Virgo person loves detail-oriented work and mastery of a skill. So maybe with this thing that you're building, that there's a lot of value to it. It's like you have, it's a challenge that you really like. And that there is something about it is very detail oriented and process oriented. But this is something that is going to be something that is done over the long term. It's a long-term goal, a long-term project, and you have a lot of energy to put into it, but don't spin it and don't waste it in indecision or self-doubt or a stalemate, right? Of, oh, I would do this, but I can't because of this. It's just be more decisive and just go for it. Working on mastering skills. There was something I had underlined that I wanted to point out about that. Precision is necessary. Be more intentional and less critical of yourself, right? Precision is necessary, but don't be overly perfectionistic about things that don't really matter. Be precise where you need to be intentional, but don't spin your wheels in useless perfectionism. And also, a self-defeating tendency might come up to be overly critical towards yourself or others, or micromanaging or overbearing. So try to avoid that as well, because that's also a form of self-sabotage. Okay, and then control with King of Pentacles. It's like this now is like, okay, you know, we're seeing things of value. We are putting our energy into intentionally like focusing our energy and resources to show up step by step, continuously, having that stable creator consciousness mindset, cause consciousness, right? And I think his name is Stephen Pressfield, or if it's not Stephen Pressfield, it's Stephen Prescott. But he wrote a book called The War of Art. And he also wrote a book called Going Pro. And I think it's in the book Going Pro that he talks about how an amateur waits until they're inspired, but a pro shows up every single day, no matter what. If you're a writer, you show up for an hour every day staring at a blank page. And if you don't write anything, staring at the blank page was your work that day. But chances are you will end up eking out at least a sentence, right? So that's about that. Going pro for yourself, whatever it is, show up consistently. Having self-control and continuing on that theme of self-mastery without being overly controlling. And if this is also about taking authority and spiritual authority over your life, and then also being perceived as kind of a spiritual authority in your community and in your situation. So it's like if you show up and you keep doing this diligent work, this is how you're going to become king over your kingdom. This is going to be the way that you take kingship over your life. I feel like the king was also an archetypal symbol at the beginning of the week, talking about taking ownership of our life, talking about like taking kingship over our life and getting our shit together and just getting on top of like the basic mundane things. And so, we are integrating all of these spiritual lessons into our physical world, but sometimes it's difficult to immanence and transcendence. It's like the immanent person is really great at doing the earthly things and showing up, but they can become obsessed in materialistic pursuits and be obsessed with money and materialism. While the person who's transcendent can be very easily float off into the spirit world and connect and channel, but they might find it hard to get things done on a day-to-day. I find that I am much more transcendent than immanent. And so our challenge is to bring those parts of ourselves into balance. That's the temperance card, essentially, and integrate those and find balance in that so that we can be, fully spiritual and fully competent in the world at the same time. Let me make sure there was nothing else in control. I feel like there was a note. I didn't get to write the blog today because I was at the hospital. So I'm probably just going to write something short in the description. So I've usually thought about this a lot more before I get on here. Let's see. These people can feel an ever-demanding ambition to improve life and status by taking on positions of responsibility. They find fruitful and satisfying areas of life in which they're able to exercise care and judgment in decision-making. So again, like that theme of being more decisive, but being intentional with our decisions. Let's see, the people's achievements leads them to take on a prominent position in the community. They have potential to become a pillar of society. Strong ethic and religious sense will be important to them. Reveals an excellent prospect for public office or position of power, however modest. Their ambition can interfere with home and family life. The negative side is that there can be a stubborn sticking to the letter of the law in situations that demand a more flexible approach. This rigid attitude taken to extremes can also show up as miserliness in small matters. So being miserly or petty with small things, but alongside excessive extravagance in larger ones. And remember the ostentation card. So don't over magnify things or blow things out of proportion or be overly dramatic or blow something up and make it dramatic. Like there was that kind of like thing. It was like don't make a big deal of something. In our Lunation workshop video, it was for the full moon in Taurus. there was a double card in my own custom deck, and it was, you're making too big of a deal about something, so be careful not to blow something out of proportion. Let's see. When this card appears in a reading, it indicates a need to take on full responsibility for one's current position and apply control to extricate oneself from a difficult situation, achieving recognition for lengthy and patient work. So again, seeing that there's something of real value that you are creating and sticking with it, right? A long-term project that's going to pay off later. And just having a sense of taking control of your situation and turning it around by taking just full responsibility and like tackling it from every angle, spiritually, practically, metaphysically, emotionally. Like, come at it, pray for the strength. Like I was watching a clip from a video that my Kabbalah teacher David made. And he was pointing out that the way to pray is not to pray that your situation is different, because the creator's in control of your situation and this is the situation that you've been put in. But rather pray for the situation to change you for the better. Pray for the consciousness to get through the situation. Pray for the wisdom to navigate the situation. Pray for the courage to face the situation. Pray for the certainty to bear the situation and get through it with guidance and with serenity and peace, and align with the divine, provision and plan in the situation. Pray for the strength to get through the situation with courage, and executing that divine inspiration, right? But it's not necessarily to pray to change the situation. It's a prayer for the situation to transform and elevate us. And that's what opens up the magic in any situation, right? That's when we talk about moments of discomfort and challenge being opportunities, right? Because when we overcome the opponent in those situations, that's when we get the points and get big Mario, right? That's when we go to the next level. That's when we reveal the more and more light and break our darkness and break the chains that bind us to those small limiting beliefs. When we face our fears and break the fears and break the hold that they had on us. When we overcome our guilt and our shame about something, how free we are when we can finally forgive and let go ourselves and others, and we're released from that burden. It's amazing. So breaking that negativity in the moments of discomfort set you free forever. So it's very powerful. Moments of discomfort are very powerful opportunities. And they're very difficult to see that way, and they're very difficult to embrace. But when we can embrace them as opportunities, they become so powerful, and so they open up so much potential for miracle and blessing. And sometimes the miracle isn't the way that we want it to look, and that's really frustrating to hear. Okay, you guys, well, I hope you have a good night. I hope you have a good weekend. I will see you tomorrow after I get off work for our secret midnight sermons, where I go into the Gnostic Gospels and we study the secret teachings of Jesus. All right, y'all. Ciao.